Welcome to the January 7th, 2020 Board of Commissioner meetings. Please silence your cell phone, pagers, and other electronic communications devices. Agendas are located at the back of the chambers if you need an agenda. Next, we'll have a moment of silent reflection and pledge allegiance by Holly Hines.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next, we'll have the election of officers. First, we will choose a method of either paper or voice vote by a motion of the board.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Drews,
I would make a motion that we do it by voice vote.
is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ross Connect. Any discussion?
I have a substitute motion that we do it by paper ballot.
Okay, it's been a substitute by paper. Is there a second? There's a second. Not, motion carries on voice with paper ballot failing. Any other discussion on the voice vote? Not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay?
One nay with Commissioner DeSanto. First is a motion to appoint the chair. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Drews,
I would make a motion that Deb Hadcock continue on as our chair.
it's been a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion and a second.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Drews,
I just, I appreciated you as the chair this past year. I appreciate the energy, the time that you dedicated to the job at hand. A lot more that goes into it than I think most people probably realize. So that's why I'm very supportive of continuing you on as chair.
thank you. Is there any other elections? Or
Chair, I also appreciate the way that you have conducted business this year. However, I would like to make a substitute motion.
or just another person?
Correct.
No
I
substitute.
would like to move to appoint Lloyd LaCroix as chair.
Okay, is there a second? Is there a second on Lloyd? Not, the motion fails. All in favor of me being the chair again, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Next for vice chair,
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Ross.
I'll make a motion to nominate Gary Drews, and I guess my rationale behind that would just be because if it's not broke, why try to fix it?
Okay, we have a motion for Gary. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by LaCroix. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I'd just like to thank you all. I think we have a great team. It's been a wonderful time this year working with everybody, and I think we worked well together. I enjoyed it a whole lot. And I'll say this again. It's the best team I've had in a long time. I've always had someone that was just always so oppositional, and not that we don't mind that in one sense, but the other, it's best to work as team. It's not always an agreement. It's about being team, no matter what, if we agree or disagree. So I enjoyed it very much with this team this year. Next is establish commission salary at number 5. We can move to set the 2020 commission salary as blank biweekly. Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Drews.
I would move that we adopt a motion to pay the commissioners $1,900 per month.
Been a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Drews.
We did have this discussion last year during our budget session. That is the amount that we budgeted for it this year, and that's why I am making that motion. This would come out with our biweekly of $876.92.
Okay. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner LaCroy.
After careful thought, when we did our budget process, I approved that we carry it forward, so we'd have that discussion today. I'm not really in favor of the process of that increase. I believe, according to the data that I've got shown here, during the budget process, we had all the information of what the other counties are doing and the comparisons. And I do believe, and I was very supportive of the 2.1% taken, same as what the employees get. And personally, I think the 1,500's a fair wage. I'm still in support of going with the COLA costs of increase just like everybody else instead of, if you look back through the history of the commission, how this works, we hold off because there's no political will to take anything for years and years, then we take big jumps. And that's what hits us the hardest. I still believe we need to find a system and coincide it with the COLA to keep it fair, so we don't have that years with no increases, and to keep it fair. But I think, for me personally, the amount that we're at is fair. If we did the cost of living, I could support that, but to do a 368.50 increase, I just can't support that.
Madam Chair, I would reflect the same sentiments as Lloyd. I would be in favor of the COLA increase, but not in favor of this amount of increase. In my opinion, it's too much, all at once.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Roskinick.
I did some number crunching this weekend, and at $1,900 a month, that's $22,800 a year. If a commissioner dedicates himself and they can themselves, and they can do 20 hours a week for 52 weeks, that's 1,040 hours of service to the county. And if I divide that into 22,800, that's $22 an hour. And if I compare that to whether other county employees work on a part-time, 22 hours a week, that's not unfair. Wages are set by the market. A market study was done, and we're relying on that market study. That's my thoughts on this. We're not doing anything unethical. It's the market that's driving these salaries and compensation.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor of the 876.92?
Madam Chair, I got one more comment, please.
The what?
I got one more comment.
Oh, I apologize.
I respect Ron's research and so forth, but I think a lot of this, what we're not also seeing is commissioners are offered health insurance also. And we are also reimbursed for travel time to those pieces. I think that's part of the package too. So, it's not just wages. And I agree with Ron as far as the hours put. The hours I miss from work, I haven't worked probably full week's work for I don't know how long, but I haven't kept track of those hours. But I just think there's more to this than just the wage. There's not many places where you can get the health insurance also.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner?
when I did the comparison with what other county employees, John pointed out 104 of them that are in that $22 an hour, they get the same benefits that we would get. So it's an equal playing field. There's nothing unethical or unequal, in my opinion. To me, it's a market-driven number.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner DeSanto.
I might point out something. Lloyd pointed out that we do get reimbursed for travel and mileage, but I would venture to guess, at least on my part, nobody turns in the total amount of travel that we put forth to go and inspect the different properties and so forth that we're having to go out and inspect. I'm quite certain of that, but I still hold firm to my thought that that much of an increase is a little dramatic. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, we do have a motion on the floor.
Who was the second on that?
Who made the motion?
Ron made a motion.
Oh, I had Drews as the
I
motion
made the
maker.
motion.
Oh,
Who was the
Ron
second?
was second,
Ron was
sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Aye.
2 nays with DeSanto and LaCroy. 3 ayes and motion carries. Thank you. Next, we'll have review and approval of the agenda, please.
So move.
Second.
Moved by, you two sound the same. I'm never gonna
Moved
get
by
this.
LaCroy, second Roy.
Moved by Lloyd,
Drews.
I second.
second by Drews. We're separating you two. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Next, we'll have the consent agenda, Ms. Holly.
Good morning, Commissioners. For public notice, the Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the Board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. Today's consent agenda contains the following items: approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of December 17th, 2019, approval of the minutes from the special meeting of December 18th, 2019, approval of the resolution for the Drug-Free Workplace Act certification for a public entity for 2020. Number 10 is to designate the Rapid City Journal, the Pennington County Current, and the Hill City Prevailer as the 3 official legal newspapers for Pennington County for 2020. Number 11 is approval of the 2020 poll worker salaries as submitted by the auditor. Number 12 is to accept the election results and approve the annexation to the Earth Drive Road District as presented by the auditor. Number 13 is to schedule a public hearing at 9:15 a.m. on January 21st, 2020 for Budget Supplement SP 20-001 for the General Fund John T. Vikurovich budget. Number 14 is to approve the chair's signature on the intergovernmental agreement between Pennington County and the South Dakota Public Assurance Alliance. Number 15 is to change the scheduled March 19th, 2020 Board of Commissioners meeting back to our regular Tuesday of March 17th, 2020. Number 16 is approval of the 2020 Humane Society contract as submitted by the Sheriff's Office. Number 17 is to designate Wells Fargo Bank of South Dakota and First Interstate Bank as the primary active depositories for 2020 per SDCL 7-20-13 as submitted by the Treasurer. And finally, number 18 is to accept the Public Deposit Liability Quarterly Report also submitted by the Treasurer.
Thank you, Ms. Holly. Is there anyone from the public who'd like to move any items 7 through 18? If not, is there any commissioner that would like to remove any items 7 through 18?
Item 10, Chair.
Item 10 by Ron.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner
I
Drews.
move approval of all items except number 10 under the consent calendar be approved.
Motion by Drews to approve everything but number 10.
Second.
Second by LaCroy. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Item 10, Ron, or Commissioner Roskinick.
Say, Jay, could I get your attention for a minute? So there's 3 designated, 3 newspapers that we use for publications with regards, and then we had this conversation, but just to make sure that I understand that, we're saying that we want to go with these 3, but we don't really have an option, do we, Jay?
My recollection last year is no, we don't have an
Jay, come up to the, I know you're relaxed over there, Jay, but
I don't have the statute memorized, but I remember we looked at it a year ago, and I just remember we were required to do the 3. I guess I can, is that your recollection, Holly?
It's the statutes right there.
Yeah, it's right here.
Designate 3 legal newspapers.
And we do utilize Native Son News as well for other types of publications. But these are the three bulk that the county feels, or the past commissioners have felt that cover the geographic areas of Pennington County,
Right.
meaning the Rapid City Journal has the most circulation numbers. The current covers our eastern half and the Prevailer covers western.
Yeah, there's some talk to maybe just, why can't we just go to 2?
No,
And then we found
statute
out
is
the
very
statute says
clear that
3.
it says 3.
Yeah, if you have 3 legal newspapers in your jurisdiction, you have to designate
Right.
at least 3. If you don't have 3, if you're another county that there's only 1 or 2, then you can do that. We do obviously have 3, so you have to designate 3.
My concern was just the mistake that happened earlier, or last year, when a notice didn't get publicized. It could have got nasty, so I just wondered if there's some mechanism in place, if that happens, if we have some retaliation or rebuttal against the publication.
Without beating it to death, we're on TV right now, and I know that in the past when these incidents have happened, those particular entities have been addressed with the issue. I think we've had a good response, and certainly it's a big deal. When we need something published, we need it done legally, we need it done, or whatever it is that we're publishing for is null and void. So it's very important that they take it seriously, and so away we go for 2020. Let's hope it all works out well.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions on number 10?
No, I'd just like to say, good job, Ron, for pointing that out.
Do we
Madam
have-
Chair, I move approval of number 10 on the consent calendar.
Second?
Moved by Drew, second by DeSanto to approve number 10. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next, number 19 through 21, regular agenda.
All right, Commissioners, item number 19 is to appoint the 2020 Extension Advisory Board. Those terms run for 1 year and they expire on January 10th of each year. This year, we received the citizen interest forms and applications from the current existing 5 members on the board. Several of them are here in the audience today if you would like to speak with them. But the motion we are requesting today is to appoint Joyce, Patty, Matt, Evelyn, and Dallas again to the 2020 Extension Advisory Board.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by DeSanto, second by LaCroy. We do have some people in the audience on this list. I know Miss Patty Bruner would like to speak. She's not a quiet lady. Come on up, Miss Patty. She's not quiet, and she's a hard worker, that's all I know. I'm teasing you, Patty. You're awesome at your
Prepare for
job.
this. Good morning, each of you. First of all, I'd just like to say thank you for supporting the 4-H program. Lloyd, appreciate your support. Mark, Deb, you two gentlemen, it'll be a pleasure to get to know you. And whatever questions you may have regarding the 4-H program, please call one of us. We'll do our best, to answer your question. Just a quick comment. I'm in favor of any youth program that's a positive choice for them. And I think you all agree that in this day and age, we really need to address that issue. There are too many other distractions, but do you have any questions for us?
How long have you been with 4-H, Miss Patty? She starts laughing.
You want me to tell my age? I was involved as a member myself, as a parent, as a leader, extension board member. And I think I was just sitting back there thinking, as a taxpayer, which I think is it's a wise investment.
A long time is what you're
A
telling me.
long time.
Patty, you've done a wonderful job there, and you've been a wonderful leader there
Thank you.
since you've been in there, and I think everybody can attest to that. If you want to,
We do have a good board,
you
I
do.
feel.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Roskinick.
we're just very lucky to have volunteers dedicated like yourself, and all I can say is just keep up the good work, and let's think about our
On
youth.
keeping on, right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner DeSanto.
As their liaison for the past 2 years, I've enjoyed working with these people. They've been fantastic. They're respectful. They understand that there's a budget to work with, and that even though they may have some wants or needs, that they make their needs the priority. And I think they do a great job at trying to stay on budget. As a matter of fact, I think we've come in under budget this year, and had some extra funds to spend to do some upgrades at the building and so forth. And those upgrades were fantastic and appropriate, in my opinion. And hopefully we can continue down that same path. And the kids that they affect and that they make an impact on, I can see through Lloyd and I's interviews of these kids that these are good kids that are really looking for something to advance their lives and give them goals and prospects for the future. And again, I want to mention, uh, I, I'm just amazed at the quality and talent of these kids that we interviewed for this trip to Washington. It was really, frankly, refreshing to see how respectful they were in the interview process, and how hard they worked to get where they're going. So I'd just like to thank you guys for letting me help serve.
Madam, Madam Chair.
Commissioner LaCroy.
My comment is I really learned a lot from you guys. When my first year on the county commission, Deb had asked me to be the liaison for 4-H, and she says it's a great learning experience, and it was. I mean, you guys taught me a lot of stuff, and I'm glad Mark took it over after that. Not that I didn't like it, but I think we need to spread the love sometimes. You know what I mean? So I mean, but you guys are very outstanding, and Mark hit it and nailed it on the spot. You guys are conservative. You watch your pennies, and you guys are dedicated. The most dedicated group of people that I've seen in a long time. And I wish we could really package that up and get other people to get that dedicated. But you do extraordinary work with the funds that you got, and the results that the commitment from your group is outstanding, and I appreciate being part of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair. Well, I too would like to echo that appreciation for your hard work. I did grow up in 4-H, and yes, Deb would ask this question of me. They did have 4-H when I was a youth. But, and I know that it's changed considerably over the years, but appreciate all the effort that's put into it for our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. We
Madam
do-
Chair,
Commissioner Roskinek.
probably the hardest thing I did in 2019 was I offered to be a judge at the photo contest. I just couldn't believe it. I mean, seriously, it's just, I thought I was a pretty good photographer, but I learned a lot, and it was really hard. It was hard picking one over another. It was, like I said, the hardest thing I did in 2019. So I can tell you guys are doing a good job just by the quality of photos that we saw at that during the fair. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a motion on the floor in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Item 20 is items from equalization. Shannon.
Good morning, Shannon Rittberger, Director of Equalization. There are 2 abatement requests in front of you. They both come from my office. The first one has been heard by the city of Rapid City. It's a mobile home that the court owner has acquired title to and destroyed it. So that one's gone. The next one is from Mr. Swear. It's related to veterans exemption, $100,000 disabled veterans exemption. This one's a little bit odd. You actually acted on this last spring, but we can't do an abatement till the tax bill exists. Can't abate a bill that doesn't exist. So that's what we're doing it now. We don't just make the change. This is the paper trail so you know that somebody's not just changing a number in the computer. So it comes before you again.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner
do you want to
Drews.
do these separately?
Board, is that okay if we do A and B together, or does any?
We can do A and B together.
Okay, so a motion for both A and B abatements.
I would make a motion to approve both A and B.
Drews, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Roskinek. Any
Madam
discussion?
Chair,
Commissioner Drews.
I see Mr. Swear is here. I appreciate you coming back for this. And yes, as Shannon said, we discussed this last year with you present at that time. We agreed to this back then, so This is basically, just a formal process to take care of it, so, but thanks for being here.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries.
And thank you for your service.
I was just gonna say that as well. Thank you for your service.
Madam Chair, may I add? You will see in the next 3 meetings, maybe 4, a lot of abatement requests that are coming from the commission. Most of them are properties that state has bought, city has bought, the county's bought, or something that was taxable partway through the year and then becomes exempt. And the only way we can make it, the only way we can change that tax bill is through the abatement process. Again, another formality, and we save all of those till this time of year when that tax bill exists. They have to go to the city, those that are located in the city, Rapid City, Box Elder, and all of the different other taxing districts. And those that are in the county will just come here, but we'll get a lot of that. We do this every year. So expect that over the next couple of meetings as those work their way through the process.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks.
Madam Chair. Shannon, when we vote on those, do we just do it as a group?
Not always.
Or we go through each one of those?
Oh, no, that's why it'll take several meetings.
Okay.
So I prepare the abatement, it goes to the auditor's office, and the auditor sorts them where they might have to go. So next meeting, you'll see those that don't have to go to another jurisdiction first, they'll come here.
Okay.
Rapid City will act on some, and depending on when their meeting takes place, it'll be another meeting or two before it gets here, so they'll come in sporadically.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Item 21 is emergency, or Highway Department, emergency relief is DOT from item A from Highway.
Good morning, Commission. Joe Miller with the Highway Department. First item here is actually an agreement between the county and the state. It's actually for work that's already been done from the flooding last spring. We do have a little bit of it left, just we didn't get to it, and with the continued rains over the last summer, we didn't want to do things 2 and 3 times. We already did it twice, so we weren't going to do it a third time and let Mother Nature take it out again. This is just an agreement between us and the state, like I said, to allow them to reimburse us for those costs.
Do we have discussion or motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Roskinek,
Madam Chair.
Second.
second by LaCroy. Commissioner DeSanto.
Just a question, Joe, on the south Reservoir Road project. Did that get all squared away and the rocks cleaned up and all that they were asking for?
As far as the work in the ditch,
Yeah.
It has not been completed yet. RCS completed their portion of it.
They did.
We did go out and survey it, and we're going to try and figure out a way to get the problem with that area is the utilities. There's a water line there that's fairly shallow, so we can't dig our ditch any deeper due to the fear for the water line freezing.
Okay.
There's a fire hydrant there as well, and I think there's also a sentry link buried in that ditch. So it's going to take some creative engineering to get that to.
But
to flow
RCS
correct.
did clean up what
Yes.
they needed to clean up.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And RCS, we met with them last spring and did a final walkthrough of that project, and we agreed to what it looked great last spring before all the flooding.
Okay.
So they did have a little bit of work and a little bit of stuff left, and they did complete that. So.
Very good. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Drews.
So Joe, this $23,812, is that the total amount? I mean, is there more to come in the future on that, or not?
That's the total amount.
Total amount, okay.
We've got about, I think, I had that, Mark's got it here. So on 160th Avenue, that's complete at that $8,400. And then on Reservoir, there is approximately $7,700 completed, and there's about $7,700 left to complete worth of work. So that will encompass all of the work that's going to take place.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item B.
Item B is a request coming to you to accept a proposal from Bros Engineering for the design on Sonquist Lane Bridge. We did in lieu of the one-lane bridge that we did on 164th, we thought that may be a good avenue to go. So we did take some, sent out some letters to the constituents in the area on beyond the bridge, and it was a very deciding factor that they were not in favor of a one-lane bridge going in there. Neither was emergency services or emergency management. And with that being said, we were requesting Bros to do the engineering on this. The bridge is 50-foot long and 24-foot wide drivable width. It was built in 1972. The sufficiency rating, and this is kind of a pretty, it's all over the place with sufficiency rating, what's structurally deficient and what's not. So it's a sufficiency rating of 39 on a scale of 100. This bridge is on one of Pennington County's dead end roads. It currently has a load limit of 19 ton and 32 ton. Legal loads are 24 ton and 40 ton. We feel that Bros Engineering is the best firm to do this. They've already done the hydraulic study, and we spent $17,290 on that. So if we were to select another engineering firm, they wouldn't accept Bros Engineering's hydraulic studies because another engineering firm's not gonna put their name on somebody else's work. So, and then the final note I have here is the estimated cost to replace this bridge is about $500,000.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Roskinek.
Joe, this bridge, if it's the one I'm thinking of, there must be another 10 just like it within a couple miles. One going across Rapid Creek on North Peak, 2 or 3, maybe 5 on Thunderhead Falls, all probably built in 1992, right after the flood.
Yep.
So this one here, earlier this year, we were talking about maybe a couple of bridges down there on Thunderhead Falls. Was this after that?
This has been in the works for 2 years. This has been in the works along prior to that.
Okay.
Talk on Thunderhead Falls, because the hydraulic study's already done, which that usually takes 6 months or so. So it's been in the works.
I was just out of curiosity, what would the difference be when this is completed at 500,000 compared to the single lane that we did by New Underwood, the 164th, just so I can try to bring myself up to speed on bridges?
Mark and I were actually just talking about this. We paid $172,000, I believe, for the 164th bridge. Didn't have to put a detour in. It was on a dead end road, but it collapsed, so we didn't have to put a detour in. Sonnenquist Lane, we're going to have to put a detour in, which is probably in that $100,000 to $150,000 range to supply a detour bridge. And then it's a double lane bridge, so it's going to cost more than that single lane bridge.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
I think people need to be aware that we get a lot of bridges just like this, so when, the wheel tax comes up, I hate to say that, but this is what that wheel tax will do, is cover some of these bridges that are gonna start getting older and older and older.
Yeah, we have, currently, on our inventory, we have 44 bridges that are 50 years or older. And then we have another 44 bridges that are between that 45 and 50 years old. So we have, within the next 10 or 20 years, there's 88 bridges that are possibly going to need to be replaced due to the fact that the lifespan of a bridge is, at that 50-year mark in ideal conditions.
So Joe, you can't do a double lane bridge like we did on 164th and save money? Or do they have to have, because it's on a dead end road, do they have to have a double wide on it? Meaning a 2-lane bridge?
So speaking with Jerome Harvey, our fire administrator, he's very much not in favor of a single lane bridge just due to the fact for getting services in and out. So say there's a flood or a fire or something back in that area, you're going to have all of the constituents or the people living back there coming out, and then you're going to have emergency services trying to get in. So it's not ideal for that.
So how many people live back there?
I don't have that number.
It's 8. I thought I read 8.
8? So does it make sense, again, I mean, it's single lane, but 8 people are gonna, I could see if it was had more people on a, I mean, legally, do we have to do a 2-lane bridge there?
I don't believe legally we do. But like I said earlier, we did send out a notice to all the people that were living back there, and I think we did that one, and who was the other one? I think Thunderhead Falls. All the people on Thunderhead Falls, we sent out letters to those requesting opinions and if they would support a 1-lane bridge, and I think we got one in support, one that didn't say one way or the other, and then the rest of them were all in opposition.
Madam Chair, I can vouch for Joe. I got a lot of phone calls, a lot of letters, and if we were to go with a 1-lane bridge, I think there'd be an uphill battle.
I just see for like 8 people,
Right.
that's, you know, I'm not, it's not about just cost savings, it's can you get in and out with 8 people? Because if the emergency is bad enough, if it's flood, they probably, unfortunately, that area is done. If it's fire, can they get out? Depends on where the fire, I mean, is it really gonna help in an emergency at that point to whether it's a double or a single? I mean, to get in or out. If it's someone on fire and there's one house and it starts a fire, I understand, you know, people got to get out. But I'm saying if on the circumstances,
Well, today it's maybe 7 or 8, but we don't know what it's going to be in 20 or 30 years.
Well, Ron, is there even I mean, I kind of know that area, and is there even the possibility really of building additional houses back there? I don't think there's that much room.
Couldn't say that right now.
yeah.
I don't think there's a whole lot of room for expansion back there in that particular little neighborhood.
And what would be the justification of not wanting a double? I mean, and having to have a double instead of a single from a resident moving in an area that already has issues with emergency services and stuff. I mean, it kind of goes both ways, but I mean, you're talking 8 people and you're spending $500,000 when we had, I don't know, 5 or 8 people on 164th, and we spent 172,000.
Right.
And here's the clincher: we'd have to do the detour no matter what, right? So it'd still cost us 150,000.
Correct. You know, there's other ways to do it. You know, I think they can build without looking at it a little deeper. You know, you may be able to build one side of the bridge and keep the other side open. I'm not sure the extent of what's all being replaced on this one. I think it's a total replacement. So you will need a detour of some sort.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Drews.
length of this bridge that we're talking about as compared to the length of the one on 164th?
This one is 50 foot long, and the one on 164th was 67.
66, I think.
Okay.
So there's not a whole lot of difference there. And I did reach out to one other county highway superintendent Dirk Rogers up in Brown County, who's done a lot of modular bridge construction, and his numbers were all over the place. I think one of them was 800,000, and then there's 300,000 for the modular construction double lane bridge too. Where the cost savings came in for 164th was the fact that Jack had the design already and he didn't have to pay for it. So on 164th, if you threw in a design cost, $50,000, you're going to be up that 225 range. If you had to go through all that study plus the hydraulic study as well, so you're going to be up in that 240, 250 range.
So we'd have to redo the hydraulic study. We'd be up 50,000 for design. Mm-hmm. But possibly, can they do a double lane in the same type of bridge?
We have asked KLJ to look into doing that sort of construction. they were kind of on the fence whether it's more cost effective or not, to do it that way. You know, with the double Ts, um, they're just building the abutments and it's putting them together, kind of like the one out on 164th.
So can we get that difference? Can you show us at the 500,000, then you could show us that if we did kind of the same design, and if it is possible in the same way we did 160, we won't do it in the same way, obviously, but two comparable. It's nice also as a commissioner for me to see the comparables for something that might come up in the future. Just learning some of that, Joe. I know it takes you extra time, but it also be nice to know why we couldn't do it kind of like that. And it's not that I wouldn't take your advice on the 500. It's just kind of nice to see the other alternative.
Yeah, and you know, our thought was to do a single lane bridge here. You know, it makes sense with only 8 people there, but with such opposition and the fire administrator also being in opposition, it didn't. That was kind of the tipping point. You know, not wanting to go against the people that were back there, but we can definitely get a cost comparison and bring it back if that's.
I would like to see a cost comparison as well.
Thank you.
Madam
Anybody?
Chair,
Commissioner Roskinek.
I think what Joe was trying to say, there's 8 residential sites or 7 sites back there, and so it's not people. You don't know how many people are living in each one of those residents.
Correct.
So there could be 40, 50 people that could be affected.
Correct.
Thank you.
I think what's important to keep in mind is not necessarily the number of people, but the number of automobiles that are going to be utilizing that bridge at any given time. And
Yeah, and that's one thing I don't think Mark, did we get a ADT on that, or do you have an ADT? Do you have an ADT on that?
So when we come back, maybe the ADT, and then if you look into it, some other options that would work there.
Joe, is that bridge probably within 3 or 4 blocks of the Johnson Siding Volunteer Fire Department? Would that be
Yes.
safe to say?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. We need a motion on this if we could.
move to continue until we get additional information from Joe.
You good with that, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, move to continue by DeSanto, second by
I'll second.
Bruce. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Joe.
Thank
Item
you.
C,
Item C, this is a utility certification for South Rochford Road Bridge. This is, it's really a formality, basically stating that the county will have all the utilities moved on the project prior to construction. This is something we have to have before we can go to bid letting, with the projects. Just a little brief update on South Rochford Road. They're going to submit the final review plans to the state on Friday. We have started the right-of-way acquisition, so we're hopeful that this will be to bid letting later this fall after we get the right-of-way secured. What else do I have here?
I would move to approve the utility certificate on project BRF 604309.
by DeSanto,
Second.
second by Drews. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Item D is the same thing on Sheridan Lake Road. Do we have a motion?
Motion,
Approval.
second.
Motion by DeSanto, second by Roskinick. Joe, did you have anything to share?
Just on the Sheridan Lake Road one, we do have to have an agreement with Black Hills Co-op. They have about 50% of their utility is outside of our right-of-way, and about 50% is in the right-of-way. So when their utility is outside of the right-of-way, we have to pay them to move it, because we're moving the project and causing their utilities to be moved. So they have to require new easements and all that stuff and move it on. And then if it's in our right-of-way, they pay to move it. So it's about 50-50. That agreement will be coming to you probably within the next couple meetings. The approximate cost of that is about $100,000.
Thank you, Joe. So, all in favor of utility certificate P648004 PCN 577 Sheridan Lake Road reconstruction, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Items from Commission, Assistant Holly Hennies, 2020 NACO Achievement Awards application.
Commissioners, this is just seeking approval to allow staff to begin working on the application for the 2020 NACO Achievement Awards for the CARE Campus. The board had previously discussed nominating this for this award. Now that 2020 is open and the award period is open, we'd like to move forward with that, and also seeking a motion to pay for the application fee.
Okay,
Move.
Second.
so moved by LaCroy, second by Drews. Any other discussion?
Just for clarification, the application fee would be up to $100 paid for out of the commission office budget.
Okay, if that's okay with the motion?
Madam
Second.
Chair,
Commissioner LaCroy?
I'd like to thank you for helping move this forward, because I think this is very outstanding. Barry had a reader board in Houston earlier this year demonstrating what we are doing here, part of the MacArthur Foundation deal, and received a significant interest from other states and counties in the area, and I think we have something that's positive and moving forward in our community. And we took a lot of time to gather information from other areas to do what we're doing, and took in some of our ideas and put them in there, and we've come up into a good program that I foresee that is going to continue on and be better as we go. And I think this is a good way to go. I appreciate you guys going forward with this.
Thank you. So we have a motion by LaCroy, second by Drew. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Items from Commission is L&I Hand Games, and that's Commissioner LaCroy.
Who's this guy?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners.
Do not harass
We
him.
actually got a trophy this year for the hand games. First of all, I'll explain. I think part of my mix-up was I was looking at it on the time frames, a different time frames. So the games ended up going on 11, and I know a couple commissioners couldn't make it, but we pulled together a group. As you see, we got Ron and Sue and myself and Joan.
Pretty rough looking group there.
Yeah, and let me tell you, this was Barry and Alex were there, and quite a few others. These have significantly changed the L&I games. When the games first started, when they first started doing the hand games, as you remember, it was always the city against the county. We were trying to get community awareness to teach the Native American culture out in the community. And so, but it's expanded, it's exploded. This is the third year. So they did things a little bit different. They created teams. There was 23 teams, and there were 6 teams on a waiting list that wanted to compete in this. So you're talking, when we got started, and we didn't know what to expect when we walked in, Ron, right? Well, this changed dramatically. So it was exciting. It was fun. It was double elimination.
No kidding.
Double elimination. So we lost one, but we moved up. We moved forward where we finally got to go up against the city, which is great. I think that was like our 5th.
You worked your way out of the losers bracket.
We did. we moved our way up, and we got 3rd out of 23. So that's pretty darn good, and it's pretty amazing how that has changed so much in just 3 years. I mean, to have a waiting list of teams that want to come on at 6 is just amazing. I think they'll probably have to expand the area a little bit next year. One of the things that I'll probably ask this fall is with some of the new policies that are coming in, they'd like a $200 team fee to join. And, whether the team that we can create a team of 5 and have some backups if something happens, but probably next year, if we do this, I'll probably be asking everybody for $50 to join the team. So just to play our part in supporting what's going on down there and so forth. But it was really amazing uh, how it went. You're exactly right, Mark. I mean, after we worked our way out of the loser bracket, and it got more fun as it went on. The more games you got to play, the funner you had, and I just really appreciate the jamming out that Joan did to get. We got Dustin in there, from emergency management. So we got a good group, and I know I talked to Barry down there next year, and he's going to try and get a group from across the street to get into it too. So it'll be a big event. And I have a meeting with later on this month with Karen with MOA, and maybe get some ideas of what some of those expansions might be, and I'll pass them on. But
Well, that's some serious growth for 3 years worth of competition, that's for sure. It's amazing.
yeah,
We need to,
It
we
is a
need to
lot.
get a set of sticks.
Need some sticks.
In 1 year, you go back in there. How do you do this again? You gotta
well,
learn in
we
10
did,
minutes.
and it's just amazing. I was probably like some of the others. Well, last year it was like, bam, we were done because you can get done with games that fast,
Yep.
and but the double elimination really helped. It got the competition going, and I think our first match was against the firefighters, and so we got them guys, and then we did.
Monument Health took us down.
Yeah.
What was it, right?
Monument Health took us, and but it was the more games you play, the funner it gets, and I think the double elimination was a good move on their part, especially with that. And they actually gave everybody gifts and trophies this year, so
Because it was over with a little too quickly last year. That was kind of,
Yeah,
you
we
get
had-
there, you're getting all excited and all warmed up and everything.
Then
and
it's just done.
yeah.
boom,
That's
you're done.
what I was telling Lloyd when it first started. I was like, I really enjoyed that, but it's like, okay, I don't know if I enjoyed just sitting there for a few minutes doing the game and then going, what?
We're finished
Yeah.
already.
So I'm glad they changed how we do the rules, and plus you get more experience, and it becomes a game instead of just like, okay, we're there and we're done. The other thing is, Lloyd, and I apologize, I thought it was between 11:15 and 1, and I had to work. And I apologize for that because I marked that out, and then it was changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We pull together. There's no stuff happens, and one of the things, we've got groups down there now, so don't anybody feel bad that they left us short. It all worked out. It does. So we knew people have commitments, and it was actually a good thing. We got Dustin out of his office, and we got Joan down there to get her involved. So it brought in got some good camaraderie going, and
Joan doesn't look excited at all up there, does she?
she's having a blast.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Drews.
I too apologize for not being able to be there, but what I'm most impressed with is that you actually got a trophy for placing. I thought it was probably just a participation trophy. So congratulations.
That's awesome. Thank you, Lloyd, for heading that up. Next year, let's get ahead of that game just a little bit so we know the times and stuff, and that way you could tell way ahead of time. That way we're all prepared, and we don't let you down at the end there, trying to help you
Well, remember,
move forward.
up, you can go 4 to 5, so it doesn't have to be a minimum. We'll go through that. You can actually expand it a little bit more. One person might have to sit out if the next team doesn't have 5 or not enough, but it's just as much fun to sit back and watch your team than it is
Right.
to be involved. So
Well, the whole Invitational is an exciting event, and this is just a piece of it. And it shows our appreciation to the Native American people and what they do for our community, as well as adding to their games bring a united front for all of us that makes a difference. So thank you, Lloyd.
I'd like to thank those guys who showed up.
Yeah, overall, it's a huge event. brings
Yes.
a lot of people to town. And
Yep.
Yeah, it
I
is.
mean, I'm impressed with all the educational things that go along with it, so
You
it's a
know,
great program.
that has changed so much in the last 4 to 5 years, and that's what's the good part about all this is the teaching of the culture, not only for the L&I games, but if you watched for that whole week all the events that they have going on as far as learning about historical trauma and trying to for the youth and getting stuff for them to do. I mean, it's just amazing. And you know, and to be able to welcome them to the community with a red carpet welcoming too is just something that that was a big change, and it's just it's amazing. And if first people take the time out to learn the culture, they really people want to learn it. They just never really had the opportunity to
Right,
learn it.
and
So
the,
that's what's
and
good.
the economic impact that these events, invitational and the different events for the powwow impact, our economic development in Rapid City and Pennington County is pretty impressive. Thank you, Lloyd. Next is committee reports, and that will be, we'll change committees. If you have your papers in of what committees you want to be on this year, just give those to Holly.
Okay.
If anybody wants to give a committee report, or we're good. Okay. 25 is approval of the vouchers,
Motion to approve.
moved by Roskinick,
Second.
second by Drews. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Any items from the public? Anybody would like to speak from the public? If not, executive session is next. Personnel issue 1-25-2-1, annual department head evaluation.
So moved.
Moved by Drews,
Second,
second by
DeSanto?
DeSanto. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Move to come out of executive session.
Second?
Moved to come out of executive session by LaCroy and second by DeSanto. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner LaCroy.
I would move to place Merton Tice III at a grade 25, step 8 on the Pennington County pay scale for a biweekly pay rate of $3,496.80, effective January 26, 2020.
Did you
Second.
say Barry Tice?
Yes.
For some reason, I thought you said Merton.
He
That's
did,
his
that's
name.
his legal name.
Oh, yeah,
Is?
yeah, the third,
I read
Merton.
Sorry, Lloyd.
And I second that.
Motion by LaCroy, second by DeSanto. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. I did not read that, I apologize. Next is items from planning and zoning. Do we have a motion to go in Board of Adjustment?
So moved.
Moved by
Second?
Drews, second by DeSanto. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brittany Molitor, Interim Planning Director. Item A is variance VA 1915 for a variance to Section 319B3 of the Pennington County zoning ordinance to allow a less than 1 acre lot size for a vacation home rental in a general agriculture district. As it stands today, the property is zoned general agriculture. It consists of 0.26 acres. It consists, let's see. The lot has a single-family residence with a deck, an on-site wastewater treatment system. Access is off of Carbon Loop. There is no special flood hazard area on the subject property, and a variance was previously approved on this property in 2015 to reduce the front yard setback from 25 feet to 10 feet, to allow an existing deck, and to reduce the rear yard setback from 25 feet to 24 feet, to bring an existing single-family residence into compliance. This was routed through the interdepartmental review process, and the only item of concern that came back was from the county ordinance enforcement, that there is an open ordinance violation on the subject property for a vacation home rental under 1 acre without a conditional use permit. A variance and a conditional use permit would clear this violation. Staff did receive this complaint in September of 2019, and since this property is less than 1 acre, the applicants cannot apply for a conditional use permit unless they receive approval, of a variance to 319 to allow the vacation home rental on a lot that was less than 1 acre. And this request is before you to allow that. There are similar uses that exist within 500 feet of this structure. There is a bed and breakfast in a planned unit development. There are vacation home rentals that are permitted in the planned unit development that would be on less than 1 acre. There is a vacation home rental in a general agriculture district on a lot that is less than 1 acre. This vacation home rental was permitted prior to the change in section 319 that restricted vacation home rental on a lot less than 1 acre.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner DeSanto.
So Brittany, you're saying that there's several other vacation home rentals and such in that vicinity that are already under 1 acre?
There is one that's actually constructed. There is a planned unit development that does allow vacation home rentals, and several of those lots are under 1 acre,
How close is that?
within 500 feet.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Roskinek.
Brittany, in 2018, when the Evangeliscos were working out the details on that bed and breakfast,
Yes.
if I recall, there's a lot of neighbors from that neighborhood that didn't like the bed and breakfast, and I can't imagine they like this vacation home rental anymore.
This vacation home rental is under a different ownership from the prior ownership.
Exactly, but the point was they wanted to live in a residential neighborhood, not a neighborhood with, let's just call them transients, people, not knowing who's going to be there night after night.
Correct, and one of those neighbors that was against that was the previous owner of this property. So that property owner is no longer in that neighborhood.
And I get one more concern, and that's when we denied the request for less than an acre in Idlewise last year. And we said if we do that, we're setting a precedence, and that was just 3,000 square feet, less than 1 acre. We asked them to acquire 3,000 square feet, get the 1 acre up, and we'd reconsider it. If we do 0.26 acres, we're just not being consistent.
That would be correct.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Drews.
I really have a concern with that also, that we would move forward with something less than an acre after that's now been established, recognizing that there are some previous ones that were under an acre, but I'm not going to be supportive of this because of that.
Thank you, and I agree based on going through all the vacation home rentals and what we had agreed to, as long as the subject property for VHR is minimum of 1 acre with accommodation of public or private systems, that's where I was going for the future as well. We did have one of the lots that we had to combine in order for them to get a vacation home rental and make an acre. And that came to pass because of the same issue as this. So I will also not be in favor of this unless we have at least over an acre on the property.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner LaCroix.
Brittany, was this house or vacation home rental prior to them buying it?
No, it was
Or
a
the ordinance-
single-family residence.
So it was a single family before the person bought it. And so where I'm going with this, folks, I was looking at the purchase date of November, they bought it last year, correct?
Correct.
And so,
July 22nd.
okay, and the reasons why it came to our attention is somebody complained, because they went ahead and made a vacation rental, so apparently they didn't do most vacation rental places tell you to check with your local and ordinances and so forth, so before you buy, you should know.
Correct. My understanding is this variance request is in direct relation to the ordinance enforcement officer contacting this
Exactly.
property owner for the operation of the vacation home rental.
I get my point. What I'm trying to get at is if they bought it for a vacation rental, that purpose, and they're doing it and didn't get all the permits that they should be. People, the sites that advertise them, unless they're doing their own advertising, tell them to check with their local ordinances and so forth. And if I try to put myself in their shoes. If I bought this for a vacation rental, and it was one before, and I'm surrounded by them, because that's what it sounds like. Is this property is surrounded by bed and breakfast and some other ones, you're talking 500 feet. Yeah, I would be lean to go for that, but with the purchase time and so forth, I think they should have known better.
Just for clarification, this property was in that subdivision, but was specifically excluded from the plan unit development.
Okay.
So is the homeowner here today?
Yes.
If you'd like to step forward, sir, and state your name, sir. Your name, sir?
Yes, Jonathan Santos Silva. And so, good morning to all of you. Thank you for the opportunity. So just to respond to your concern or your thoughts, sir, when we were in the process of purchasing the home, we did inquire with our realtor and broker. I wasn't sure exactly where I would find the information, and so they did do some research into the covenants for the property, and were not able to find anything that said that we were not able to rent it. And then, not being fully aware of the terminology, the vacation home rental at that time, I went to the Airbnb website, and they did suggest that we look. They said it was allowed in this area, but we had to follow the policy, but they don't enumerate the policies. So when I looked online and searched for Rapid City with Airbnb or VRBO, Pennington County, South Dakota, I couldn't find anything. It wasn't until after we visited with the Evangelistos and informed them that that was what we were interested in doing, that Mrs. Evangelisto informed us that you do require a permit. And so that's when I went, I didn't know where to look, but I started looking again. I think she might have introduced the term vacation home rental. And so then that's when, actually before the complaint, in August, actually, that's when, around August is when I learned of the correct process. So we had applied to the Department of Health for like a lodging permit. That started in August. That was the 8th. Around that same time, that was my, not to make it personal, my uncle died. So we left South Dakota for the funeral. We were gone for about 2.5 weeks. And that's when the complaint was lodged. As soon as we got back, we had the health inspection right around that same week. We received our not social security, tax identification number, and then we did, in fact, like within 3 days of the visit, we're able to file the rest of the paperwork. So we were ignorant of the rules to begin with, but we were trying to do it in the right way from the beginning. And as we learned of each component, we tried to be as efficient and as quick about following up with those processes as we could. So we do apologize for operating it incorrectly at first.
Well, sir, in Pennington County, we went through a huge process with vacation home rentals. And for me, it was if they were grandfathered in, meaning if they've already been in there for a long time. I'm usually kind of weigh, what's going on. Has there been a lot of complaints, that kind of thing? In this case, you do not have even an acre of land. What we did on the last case, or what's happened before, is in order to comply, they had to buy some more land to make it an acre in order for it to be a legal in vacation home rental rules and regs of Pennington County.
Right.
So bottom line is, for me, sir, this is not an acre. And it's not that you're doing anything wrong in one sense, but we went through years and years, and then again, years and years again of changes through this in order to get to this ordinance where it is today. So it would be working for the residents in the area as well as the business owner, the owner of the property. So for me, it's not that you did anything wrong at this point, except that my suggestion is if you could get more land surrounding your property in order to make it acre, it would probably comply and be easier to get that vacation home rental. Because today I wouldn't approve it if it was under an acre. Not because you did anything wrong in a sense, but the other thing is that
Yeah.
we have to sometimes abide by those rules, especially when they become that controversial.
No, I understand. I think the Evangelistos own most of it. I don't think they'll sell it to me now. Not knowing that I would like to
Madam
do
Chair.
this.
Okay.
What we're looking for, Jonathan, is in the county right now, we're trying to establish some continuity in our vacation home rental rules and regulations. And, we say it many, many, many times, but I don't think that it can be said too often, is that an area can establish covenants, but those don't have anything to do with the county. Those are within the homeowners that live there in that particular home neighborhood. And we have no control over those, but our rules supersede those. So,
Madam Chair. John, I feel sorry for you because to do the health department deal is $175, right? And then whatever you've spent so far to do this, and you said you've asked your realtor, this is what your plans are, and if they weren't honest with you, I would get a new realtor, quite frankly. The only reason I know so much is because I'm in the process of doing the similar, but I've known some of the rules from being on the commission, and even then you don't get the whole story, and you ask questions and don't get told a lot of stuff until you come here, and I feel bad because that's a lot of money he just raised up in his hand of what he's gone through to get
yeah.
here today.
He can still, Jonathan, you can still rent it as a rental, because it's a nice house. That was the Paulson's house that Robbie and those guys before you. So it is a nice house where you could still, you're not out money in a sense, because I do rentals, and that's a nice house. It's a nice area. You might still be able to, you have to follow rental rules, but as a vacation home rental, it's a little bit different. So you're not really out money in a sense if you're going to rent it as a rental either way.
Okay.
So unless you can get that acre. So,
Madam Chair,
sir,
if I recall, I'm still trying to understand vacation home rentals myself, but I think you're allowed to rent that, Brittany's at 14 days. So if you want to rent that out, like during the Sturgis Rally, you can actually rent that out without being under the auspice of a vacation home rental for 14 days. Brittany can explain that.
Yep, that is correct. State statute does allow up to 14 days of rental, or daily rentals
Right.
per year.
Doesn't all have to be consecutive either.
No, it's per year.
So just maybe another source of income. When you purchased a home, did the realtor indicate to you that it could be used?
Well, so I guess they looked at covenants and the other common uses in the area. I don't know if, I think I do know for a fact she was a new realtor, so I don't know if she was aware of the process that you guys were talking about that you
But were
went through.
they aware of your intention?
Yes,
They were aware
yes,
of that,
yes.
so I think I would be talking to my realtor, because a knowledgeable realtor would have never let you get to this point.
anything else for us, Jonathan?
No, I just appreciate it. I mean, obviously, had different hopes for the response, but I know you have important jobs to do and appreciate you giving me the opportunity to even state my case, so thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan, and good luck.
Thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Drews.
I would make a motion to deny the,
Second?
Motion by Drews, second by DeSanto. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next to variance is to Harold Beast variance. What's your name, sir?
I'm Jason Thynison. Good morning, Commissioners.
Thank
County
you,
Planner.
Jason.
Agenda item B is variance 1916. The applicant Harold Beese has submitted this variance request to allow lot size less than 10 acres in a limited agriculture district. The purpose of the variance is to allow the applicant to subdivide the subject property into 4 separate lots. As this is today, the property is 40 acres zoned limited agriculture district. It's vacant of any structures. There's no special flood hazard area on the property. It sits within the 3-mile plating jurisdiction of the city of Rapid City. The applicant's plans are on the screen in front of you. He plans to subdivide into 4 separate lots. His original plan was to create 4 10-acre lots. However, the portion of the slide I have highlighted in red there is Anderson Road. The applicant submitted a preliminary subdivision plan to the city of Rapid City. The city of Rapid City considers Anderson Road a proposed minor arterial street on their major street plan, which requires it to be a 100-foot right-of-way for future development. Therefore, the applicant is going to incur an extra 17 feet on his four planned properties, which reduces those from the 10-acre minimum in a limited agriculture district to roughly 9.7 acres each. The board has taken action on this property in the past. Rezone 19-15 and Comprehensive Plan Amendment 1915 was approved in November of 2019, changing the current and future land use to limited agriculture district, supporting the 10-acre minimum lot size. The landowner has indicated that the city's requirement for additional dedicated right-of-way decreases each of the original planned 10-acre lots to approximately 9.7 acres, creating the physical hardship that he's requesting the variance for.
Okay,
I would move for approval.
I'll second that.
okay. Moved by DeSanto, second by Ross Connect. Any other discussion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner
Just
Drews?
a question, Jason. So without that extra 100 feet of right of way, each of those would have met that
Correct.
10 acre minimum?
Yeah, that's correct.
Jason, any other follow-up?
No, ma'am, we have the zoning ordinance requirements that we can go through if you'd like to.
Nope,
I
I
can
think
read
we're
you mine.
good, Jason.
Okay, sounds good.
I think he meets those hardships of what you're talking about, so we do have a motion in a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thanks.
Motion carries. Thank you, Jason. Ms. Brittany, first we'll have a motion to come out of Board of
So
Adjustment.
moved.
Moved by Drews,
Second,
second by
DeSanto?
Santo. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
The Board of Commissioners uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine planning and zoning items quickly. The consent agenda is acted upon by one motion and vote of the board. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of a board member or a citizen. The consent agenda for planning and zoning contains the following two items. Item C is road name change, Gypsy Road to Heather Lane, and approval is recommended. Item D is minor plat MPL 1943 for Battle Creek Fire District, and approval is recommended.
Thank you. Is there anybody from the public would like to pull off item C or D from the consent? Not, is there any commissioner who would like to pull off item C or D? If not, can we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Moved by LaCroy, second by Ross Connect. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next, we have one reconsideration item, if we could, items from the public on number 26 that we have already went through. We have some people from Marvin subdivision who'd like to speak that do not fit in with the mining ordinance that we're talking about today. So we need to reconsider back, if we could, to bring back the public comment. So when we get done, which would be under item H, after item H, to do items from the public again.
Do we need a motion to do that?
I think we
I don't
do.
think we had a motion to not do it, so do we actually need one?
I believe the chair can just make the decision to open up items for the public again. I don't
Is that okay with the
I
board?
believe we need a
Okay, so after item H, we'll do Marvin Road, where you can speak on that item instead of having to put it under mining ordinance, because it's not under the same category based on your issues that you're having, okay? If that's okay with the three speakers, so they know where they're gonna speak after item H. Ms. Brittany?
Okay, item E is Plan Unit Development PU 0607 for Rapid City MHP LLC Cimarron Mobile Home Park to review a plan unit development to allow a mobile home park. Planning Commission did recommend that we continue the review of plan unit development to no later than the January 21st, 2020 Board of Commissioner meeting with the following condition: that any continuation hereafter, because of the applicant's failure to meet conditions of approval, shall be required to pay $100 per continuation in accordance with Section 511X of the Pennington County zoning ordinance.
That would be my motion.
Motion by DeSanto,
Second.
second by LaCroy. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Item F.
Item F is rezone 1916 and comprehensive plan amendment CA 1916 to rezone 107.24 acres from general agriculture district to limited agriculture district. The applicant, Richard Aldrin, has applied for this request. The applicant is also requesting to amend the Pennington County Comprehensive Plan, and the subject property is also located within City of New Underwood's 3-mile plating jurisdiction. This preliminary plat was heard and approved by the New Underwood City Council on November 5th, 2019. As the property currently stands today, it is zoned General Agriculture District. There are two separate sections here. One tax ID 69268 consists of 73.43 acres and it's currently vacant. Tax ID 7043 consists of 74.7 acres. It does have a building permit for a single-family residence and attached garage, an on-site wastewater treatment system, and an operating permit. There is special flood hazard area on the subject property, and access is taken off of 164th Avenue. This property is surrounded by a general agriculture district, and the future land use within 1 mile of this is also general agriculture district. This was routed through the interdepartmental review process, and no items of concern came about. This applicant's request is not in harmony with our future land use. Staff has not received any complaints regarding the applicant's request. Although the zoning request does not match this county's future land use, it is in harmony with the existing uses of land and lot sizes in the general area. So staff is recommending approval of rezone 1916 and comprehensive plan amendment CA 1916.
Okay, do we have a motion or discussion?
I would move for approval.
Moved by DeSanto,
Second.
second by LaCroy. Discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Item G, please.
And item G is a second reading of ordinance amendment OA 1902 to consider mining as a conditional use under the Pennington County zoning ordinance, which would amend section 205 General Agriculture District and section 212 Heavy Industrial District, and to amend section 511 fees, and to add section 320 mining operation to regulate aggregate mining, which will supersede section 507B of the Pennington County zoning ordinance. The Planning Commission did recommend approval of this ordinance amendment, and the Board of Commissioners did approve the first reading of this ordinance amendment on December 17th, 2019.
Do we have a motion or discussion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Roskinick to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Drews. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Sorry, I had one comment.
She had a comment.
Go ahead.
Sorry. We did have one proposed change in light of some concerns that we had that wasn't clear in 507B and in this section, to add this one sentence under applicability. That was the only thing that we had.
Did we have it on the first reading?
No.
You have to redo the first and second reading because of a change on the second reading?
Michelle's shaking her head no.
Okay, so let's have a reconsideration.
Move to reconsider.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. All right, Brittany.
This sentence was inserted into this section due to some clarification. It would say, in addition, a mining operation as defined under section 320 does not include extraction and removal of material from construction sites or following floods, landslides, or natural disasters where the land is being restored to its prior condition.
And where's this section under?
Applicability under section 320A.
So that'd be proposed minute to add section. Okay. Does not. And-
Brittany, by modifying that, basically, what are we changing?
Yeah.
We're going from what to what, so I can get a better clarification.
Essentially what happens in certain instances, and because of, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it under the decision that was prior to the Supreme Court decision that said any extraction of material? I mean, you're looking at anybody that digs down a foundation, that could do aggregate, or that would have aggregate or anything like that, that's not related to a construction site. It would be considered a mining operation in its literal interpretation.
But doesn't that define that already by the section 320 applies to the extraction of aggregate in excess or equal to 100 cubic yards of material? I mean, if you're going to be digging basements and everything else, you're going to do a lot more than 100 cubic yards. And not that this is just seems like it's reiterating what they're saying, so it's not gonna hurt anything in a sense, but
It's just clarifying what a mining operation is, essentially, is what it is.
it's
Like I
actually
said,
clarifying what extraction is.
yes,
Okay,
or where it says equal to 100 cubic yards of material.
yes.
Yes, if it's part of a construction site, then this would not apply.
So basically, it's just adding to what's already there.
So we're just trying to define the difference between construction and mining.
Correct.
Okay.
Michelle Hoffman, State's Attorney's Office. I just wanted to clarify the procedural issue raised by the board. When there's a second reading, as long as that second reading has been noticed by publication in a newspaper, then the board may make further changes. And in this instance, this hearing was noticed by publication in a newspaper.
And that was in the publication.
The specific amendments don't need to be in the publication. It just, the hearing itself needs to be
Okay, so
noticed by
So
publication.
the changes were made so people could read it ahead of time.
No, this is a change that we are proposing today.
Nobody's read it yet,
And we can do it.
Okay,
but we can do it legally.
okay. Again, it's just reiterating what they're doing. It's not a change that's going to,
It's not a substantive change.
Yeah.
It's just clarifying the definition of a mining operation.
all right. So do we have a motion and a second?
I'll go ahead and move to approve.
Moved by Ross Connect,
Second.
second by Drew. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, motion carries. Item H, please.
Okay, item H is Plan Unit Development Review PU 0105 for William Anderson, Cliff and Billy Janice, and SNL Holdings LLC to review an existing plan unit development in accordance with Section 213 of the Pennington County zoning ordinance. Planning Commission did recommend that PU 0105 be rezoned to suburban residential limited agriculture district to conform to surrounding property uses. This item was discussed at length at the Planning Commission. The struggle with this one is it is a plan unit development that was never developed in accordance with the conditions of the planned unit development. And what staff was struggling with is when a plan unit development doesn't meet their conditions of approval. This plan unit development was supposed to consist of 51 dwelling units and then 10 acres for commercial uses. As this property is used today, there's 3 separate lots. One is a storage unit lot, one has a single wide mobile home on it, and one has a like a Morton building pole structure with living quarters in it. This property was originally 40 acres and it has subsequently been platted into the 3 lots, once through the city of Box Elder because it was platted through the city of Box Elder originally and it was in the Box Elder platting jurisdiction, and subsequently it was platted through the city of Rapid City. So with those platting, that has created basically a violation, so to speak, of this plan unit development because it has not been developed in accordance with its original intent. So staff has worked with the state's attorney's office. We have called and left messages with the property owners, but we would like to propose that this property is actually rezoned to the appropriate uses for what is actually occurring on the property. The top lot would be suburban residential, which it is with the storage units, which would make it the storage units a legal non-conforming use. So if they ever expand the number of storage units on that lot, they would have to come in and get a conditional use permit. The other 2 lots could be rezoned to limited agriculture district because that is consistent. Oh, let me get back to the rezone. To how property is being utilized in the area. Most of that area is limited agriculture district and suburban residential district. So staff is recommending and the planning commission recommending that these be rezoned to the appropriate zoning districts to meet the current land uses that are occurring on the property. The other problem is there is some building permits that need to be approved on these properties. That middle lot, Mr. Janice has struggled getting building permits on it because he's not meeting the requirements of the plan unit development, and by rezoning it to limited agriculture district, he would be able to utilize his property and get building permits for how he wants to use his property. So that's just one example.
So Brittany, just a couple questions.
Sure.
Number one, the guy that has the mobile home is built on his property without any kind of permits already,
Correct.
okay? So he didn't care if it was a planned unit development or not, he was still building without any kind of permit.
He did come in to try to get an amendment to that, and it was not able because the the planning commission directed them to come back and get a major amendment. So I did leave out a couple things. I apologize. So when you do a major amendment to a planned unit development, you need signatures from all three property owners, everybody that's involved in the planned unit development. This planned unit development was originally developed under one property owner, and since it was platted, the ownership has changed hands, so now you have three property owners. So all three of them would have to sign the application and concur with the change. So at this point, right now, there is kind of a stalemate essentially in being able to do things on this property and bring these properties into compliance without going through the major PUD amendment process. So one of two things can happen. Either the planning commission and the board of commissioners can direct staff to rezone these to the appropriate rezoning so these can be brought into compliance, or we can do the major amendment to the plan unit development. And speaking with the state's attorney's office, the plan unit development is not an appropriate zoning district for how this property is being used, and it's more appropriate to rezone them to how the property is zoned in the area because that's how these properties are being used.
So you have three different lots. You have a commercial lot, which you're wanting to do suburban residential, wouldn't it be highway or?
Right now, that could be essentially neighborhood commercial.
Okay,
So right now, if we do rezone it, because it's an existing use, it would be grandfathered. So unless they actually add additional storage units, they would not have to seek a CUP at this time.
okay.
They would be a legal non-conforming use the way that they are right now.
And the trailer and the house that are bigger lots would be limited ag. Are they 10
Correct.
acres? Yes.
And the same with the mobile home. That mobile home would not require a CUP because it existed prior under the
PUD.
Under the PUD said 51 dwelling units. It doesn't distinguish what a dwelling unit is, whether it's a single family residence, stick built, and so forth. So that also would be a legal non-conforming use. So he would be able to get the building permit for this single wide mobile home and construct the detached garage that he is seeking.
So bottom line, planning commission recommended plan unit development be rezoned. So we wouldn't put suburban residential, we put limited ag and either highway or commercial for the future of that expansion to be grandfathered in right for that storage unit instead of suburban residential, which it would not fit in, which would make it come back and have to have a CUP, if I'm correct.
Under suburban residential, right now with commercial or highway service, there's no commercial or highway service within proximity of that, so it would be considered spot zoning. That is the only lot under the PUD that actually was developed in accordance with the conditions of the PUD. The PUD did allow up to 10 acres of neighborhood commercial, and neighborhood commercial as defined in the PUD was storage units. So that lot was the only lot that was developed in
So,
compliance with the original PUD's
so
intent.
I'm personally okay with limited ag in the other two, but I would put it then commercial residential or something that is a business already, and we do not want to change that into something that's more of a residential designation for suburban. That would be my opinion, because if I own those storage units, I'd hate to have to come back under a suburban residential zoning. I would like some type of commercial, neighborhood commercial or something that protects me for the future. Since, like you said, they were complying with it in the first place. Now, when you put them under suburban residential, they're not going to comply with a neighborhood commercial or anything else, even if they grandfathered in, as you said, because if they change and you come back and we're not here and we look under suburban residential, number one, we'll ask how it got there. Number two, we don't want you to expand that business into those residentials, because if something happens in limited ag around there in residentials, you'll be affecting them. So bottom line is I would put something neighborhood commercial or something instead of, that'd be my opinion, under suburban residential.
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Drews.
Brittany, going to this pole barn building that's got living quarters in it, as I'm reading this, the pole barn itself was apparently a building permit.
For the pole barn, there's
the
not a
pole-
building permit for the living quarters
living
inside.
quarters. Was it done, do you know, was it done at the same time? This was done,
No, the only thing that was permitted was the actual pole barn, basically empty space. It was permitted as a pole barn, not as living quarters.
and it wasn't permitted as a storage unit, it was permitted strictly as a pole barn.
Correct.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Roskinek.
Brittany, why couldn't we just, looking at the way things
Sure.
transpired and the way they are today, do the suburban residential and the limited ag and then highway service? I mean, that looks like spot zoning, but it's, right now it's spot zoning, and that's what we wanted to get away on the comprehensive plan, was to kind of get rid of the PUDs or not allow any more. So get rid of the PUD. They haven't followed the criteria that they originally said they were. Do the zone them accordingly, but I think if we zone the storage units highway service, I know that looks like spot zoning, but you know, it is highway service. Could we
I'm
do
not
that?
sure that Radar Hill Road would be considered a highway. That's the only caveat, because you have to have, it has to be there's a certain designation for highway service. The other option is neighborhood commercial is a conditional use under suburban residential. The other requirement would be that we seek and secure the CUP for the neighborhood commercial for the storage units under
So then
suburban
neighborhood
residential.
commercial,
I mean, so you would either have to, even in general commercial, storage units are a conditional use permit. So in one way, we need to get a conditional use permit or grandfather them in under a zoning district.
I guess as long as
Right.
they're legally conforming with whatever zoning you apply to it, then I don't have a problem.
They are, like I said, they are the only property that was conforming under the PUD. So we did, and you are correct, we don't want to put them in a situation where they
Right.
wouldn't be conforming because they did comply.
Can you show us those lot sizes again?
Sure.
So the one you wanted to call suburban residential would be how many acres would be the storage units?
2.71.
2.71, right? Storage units, Ron? Then limited ag on the other two is what you wanted because of the sizes.
Correct, the lot sizes, and then it's in conformity with the surrounding land use and how, if you look at the properties across the street, those are the larger, they're more like ranchette type
Right.
lot
So-
sizes.
Brittany, based on what Gary just said, that I didn't know, and I should have noticed it, they have, number one, the storage units haven't complied, so we have not only the trailer house that hasn't complied, we have the storage units that haven't complied.
No, the storage units have complied. They are the only property that has complied. They have received all of their building permits, and they met the intent of the planned unit development by developing under neighborhood commercial.
So they are,
They are the only property that's in compliance. is
okay,
the
because
storage
I thought the
units.
living space and stuff made them so they weren't
No,
compliant.
the living space is in the property furthest to the south.
Okay, I apologize.
Oh, no.
Okay, so then we have,
Those two properties are not
are
in
not compliant and the
compliance.
storage units are.
Correct.
So you want to put limited ag on the big ones, and the top one, if they did neighborhood commercial, they'd have to come in for a conditional use permit.
Under suburban residential or general commercial, either one, they would have to have a conditional use permit for the storage units.
But they wouldn't be grandfathered in under any other rezone based on that PUD because they were the ones that complied with the PUD in the first place.
Right, they'll be grandfathered in, so they wouldn't have to do anything unless they expand.
Right.
So if they decide that they want to put more storage units or add on to that, then they would have to apply for the CUP at that time. No matter what zoning district they would be, suburban residential is the only one that fits the lot size without having to do a lot size variance. And then
Now
a
I got it.
CUP, so we're
Okay,
not,
so you're doing suburban residential with a CUP for neighborhood commercial?
if they
If they
expand,
expand.
only if they
Okay,
expand.
now I
Not
got it,
gonna-
because I
they're not gonna
didn't,
expand
I didn't get the,
unless they go up.
Yeah, that's right.
the main thing is if they wanted to expand, or if they wanted to buy more land, or someone actually gave more land, that we wouldn't make it hard for them in the future without being able to do that if people complied in that area. Meaning, once you take that PUD off of them, it's going to be a little bit different trying to expand a commercial business. That's my only issue at this point.
And Deb, you're absolutely right. I mean, this, at the planning commission, this was the big discussion too, just as our previous meeting too. And the staff figured this was the best way to solve all the problems and be able to move forward with this, because we were kind of restricted with the PUD. Some weren't compliant, rezone it to what it is. They're going to be legal non-conforming. But, you know, I understand you're saying one person complied, or it might be the one who owns all of it complied to that one part. It doesn't matter. We don't want to take it away from what it is, but it's legal non-conforming. I think this is the best route to move forward.
Yeah. And I agree. The main thing is if we all know if we're been business people and we had something that was grandfathered in was fine, but under my PUD, when I was under the PUD, I could expand and do whatever I needed. Now, you've taken my PUD away based on, you know, somebody else trying to comply, but you've taken away my ability to add on without doing rezones and having people shut my business down at this point because now they don't like the storage units in the area. So just making sure that for future that we have protected the people that have already built it and put the money into these storage units.
And just one other point of clarification, these properties are served by the city of Box Elder, and the city of Box Elder does have moratorium on taps through that area. That is the other reason that staff is proposing the rezone, because the 51 dwelling units at this time could not be developed with the current moratorium unless they secured another water source.
Correct. Thank you. Thank you for the explanation, Brittany. Do we have a motion, please?
Move for approval.
Moved by LaCroy,
Second?
second by DeSanto. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Madam Chair,
I'm sorry.
still relative to that, living quarters, in the pole barn. Will that bring that into conformance also then, or is this,
With a building permit, it
They're
would
gonna have
be.
to purchase a
so they
building
have to
permit.
purchase a building permit?
Correct.
Okay.
But they can, how those two properties with the single wide mobile home and the living quarters and the pole barn are both acceptable uses under the limited agriculture district. They meet the minimum lot sizes, and how they're currently using their property, they would be able to continue to do that.
Okay, thank you.
So, but
That's a
under,
building permit and fine, isn't it?
yes, I was gonna say, that's exactly what I was gonna say, because they didn't, neither of them complied.
Correct.
Thank you. We all good?
Yep.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next, we have items from the public. First, we have Jerry Mattson. Thank you for waiting for us today.
Jerry Mattson, thank you for listening to us today regarding Marvin subdivision and the mining operations that are occurring at the end of the road. Mark Wiley has put together a list of concerns that we have. I believe that Mark DeSanto is our commissioner for that district, if I'm not mistaken. We have numerous concerns on the list, mainly proper procedure being followed through the Planning Commission for granting of a permit for operations. We were never notified by certified mail whatsoever. We're still expecting that notification. So we had not the opportunity to attend any previous hearings to voice our concerns about this operation. Next of all, we have, I'll just go through some of the things that I have concerns about, and Mark will address the rest of them. Due to the mining operation, we're putting up with excessive dust, clay dust, gypsum dust, silica dust, spent diesel fuel in great quantities. I'm sure this would be a health concern for all of us. I don't see where this is in the best interest of the general public, us being the general public, all being equally affected by this operation. Another item is marketability. We don't know what that's going to do. We have not been given a future plan whatsoever, what they intend to do in the future. Is it just going to be dig a hole and then reclaim the area and dress it out again? We don't know. Are they planning future construction? We don't know. We'd like to have a review of all of that. And I think it's just a bad thing waiting to happen. Another item is weed infestation. I just got done ridding my property of Canadian thistles, which I was given an ordinance violation for. Now, this mining operation, through the excessive dust, I can guarantee you, I'm going to be infested with them again. Now, what, that's money out of my pocket again? I just got done with that. The roadway and everything else is on the list for review also. I'd like to ask the commission for a special review or a special session where you can sit down and thoroughly investigate what's going on here. We all have our concerns. When I speak for myself, it is for the whole subdivision. So anyone that would like to come out and take a look, excuse me, at what's going on, you're free to do so. I'm sure the gate is open down there and you can go take a look at the operation and you can take a look at the dust in our yards. I'll be glad to walk you around. With all that said, thank you for your time. And I hope you'll look into this matter a little bit further. Thank you.
Next is Robert Watts. Your name, sir?
Good day, Commissioners. I'm here to speak on the Marvin subdivision issue also.
Is your name Robert Watts?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
one and only.
Watts?
Last time I was here, I explained to you I don't hear very well, so I tend to speak loud enough for everybody to hear me.
I remember that last time.
Thank you. There are more than a few issues here. I don't want to repeat everything that Mr. Mattson said, but where's the planning? We've got a grade permit for this person. I haven't seen any surveyors out there. There's no construction staking. There's no cut fill stakes. There's no clearly delineated corners for a structure. There's just indiscriminate digging all the time. And when they're not digging, there's construction equipment moving in and out of there, being stored and then pulled out the next day. That isn't planning. And that doesn't bode well for the rest of us. The rest of the subdivision have paid thousands and thousands of dollars in homeowner dues to maintain our road and the rest of it. We're not seeing anything from the owners of that property on that. We're not seeing any clear direction on what they're trying to do. We should be informed exactly what they're trying to do. And I think the Planning Commission needs to get the straight of it and find out what is exactly going on. Where is all this gyp going? Is it being mined for profit or just being hauled off? And I'd like the commission and the Planning Commission to address that and get some answers for us because we can't seem to get any from this person. Thank you very much for hearing me out.
Thank you, Mr. Watts. Next is Mark Wiley.
Good morning.
Wiley,
How are you? Still morning, yep. Okay.
your name, sir?
Pardon?
Your name?
My name's Mark Wiley,
Thank you, sir.
and I live at 3901 Marvin Road. We're here to address our concerns. Now, there is some pictures I had here. And, where are they at?
Brittany, can I
Oh,
ask?
okay, gotcha.
Can I ask a question? Has this been, does this property have a CUP or anything on it?
It has a construction permit and a mining permit, and staff. Cody has been out there, our environmental planner, at least weekly, and he does have, it's on schedule to be inspected this afternoon also.
So we can maybe put it on our next, Mark, would you like this on our next agenda?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. That way staff can bring that forward and we can make sure the concerns are met at this point. Thank you.
Okay,
Mr.
well,
Wiley.
you can see the size of the trucks that are hauling on our road. That's a private road. It is dedicated easement. So, you know, garbage trucks go back and forth, but this is substandard road. And these are truck and pups. They're capable of hauling, I'm in the construction business, so these trucks haul quite a bit of weight. And they're going down over a 12.5, 13% grade. So that means when they're approaching that grade, they can't see what's coming up. And the road narrows at that point. So the likelihood of an accident is pretty substantial. Also, the dust that we're experiencing up here is, here's a picture of my niece's backyard. So I'm sure you would all enjoy having a fresh white snow in your backyard and then being covered in red dirt, which then turns to mud. So, and we can't control the dust, and we don't see him over there watering much at all. He may sprinkle some on the berm, but that's it. And high wind comes up, and then you've got it all over the place. Here's another picture of her fountain that's covered in red mud.
So, excuse me, what property would hers be then?
Hers would be Bob Watts and Russ Brown, who couldn't be here today. They adjoin this property.
What's her last name?
Jessica's the next piece back.
Smith?
Pardon?
What's the last name?
What's Jessica's last name?
Jessica Smith.
Okay.
Now, I gave you some information last time. You should have that.
That's
okay.
what we got.
All right, very good. So let me see here. There's the truck picture again. And let's see what this is. Okay, I followed a truck the day after Christmas. They were hauling chip out of there. And 2 or 3 days before that, all day long, they were hammering with a jackhammer down there. So you could hear that all over the neighborhood. So I thought, well, I'll follow them, see where they're going. So if you see they're going in the north entrance of the GCC facility, cement plant facility, and they're just pulling on the scale is what they're doing here. And maybe I can get that to zoom in a little bit, but they pulled right on the scale there. So, and of course I couldn't go in, there's no admittance here. So I guess my concern here is, there's no end gate here. I mean, he could theoretically sit here and do this for the next 4 years. And then we're gonna be inundated with dirt and heavy truck traffic. Last night, transport come in there hauling a roller and a backhoe. 6 o'clock at night, it was pitch black. You couldn't even tell what was on the transport itself. I had to run around and look to see what was on it. But we don't haul equipment at night. We don't, because it's dangerous and it's looking for a place to happen, an accident.
So Mr. Wiley, what's gonna happen now is we're gonna put it on our next agenda, so any neighbors or anybody who would like to come, it will be on our agenda. You can call Miss Holly, and she will tell you what number on the agenda you folks would be. And you can come and visit us and show us pictures, and that way we have the other side of the story together.
Okay.
And we'll have the contractor come and make sure that we're all on the same page, because this is the second time this has came up, so if that's okay with you, we're just gonna go ahead and put it on the next agenda, and you expect to come to the next meeting, and this will be on there.
Okay, so as far as the mining ordinance, there should be some quantity limitation on this. I mean, he could sit out there and remove 10,000 ton.
And if you are their representative, Mr. Wiley, I'd give you the advice to meet with Brittany and Cody.
Okay.
If you'd write those two names down
Okay.
beforehand, so you guys are all on the same page of what is basically the rules and regs and what he can and can't do. That way, when you come here, you actually know the rules and regs, and that you don't go, okay, you can't do that, and we have to say no by regulation 44 or whatever. So do me a favor, have your group or have, if you are their representative, come here and learn some of those rules and regulations on mining and the roads and different things, so y'all are on the same page of what he can and can't do.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Is that okay with the board? Okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wiley.
Brittany has something to say.
Brittany?
I do have one comment on both the construction permit and the mining permits. There is a caveat that both of those can be reviewed as directed by the Planning Commission or the Board of Commissioners. So if you would like both of those items to be reviewed in front of the Planning Commission again, if you do have concerns, that is in your purview to do it as part of those permit approvals.
I think at this point, instead of going through two entities, it'd probably be easier just to come here.
Okay.
And then we can see if we can nip it in the butt.
Okay, I just
All right.
wanted you guys to know that that was part of their conditions of approval of their permit, that it will come up for review as directed by yourselves or the Planning Commission.
Is that okay with us coming here first?
Well, Madam Chair, if you're suggesting that our discussion at the next meeting could prompt the review? Is that
Yes.
what you're, okay.
Well, it's going to review.
Or it will
that-
be the review.
It is prompting the review.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
I'm good
I
with it.
think, Madam Chair,
Commissioner Drews.
do we need to make that an official request then to do that? If we're asking for the contractor to come in also at the next meeting.
Yeah,
on the
you're under
property-
items from the public. You can't give any direction
Right.
at this point, but we will make the arrangements, yes, sir. So we don't want an official motion.
Okay.
All right. Next is motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by DeSanto,
Second.
second by Roskinet. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, motion carries. Holly, I'd like to thank you and Joan for everything and our staff here in Pennington County of all the things that you have done for us in 2019 and enjoy working with you all in 2020.
You betcha.
You again, couldn't have done it without you all.